we could fly.
Welcome to this new season of the Have a Cup of Jahani podcast. So I want to title this new season that I'm embarking on with I'm Growing. So this is going to be the season of growth. And that's what I'm going to share with you throughout the season. So I thank you for coming over here and sitting with me. And I hope you enjoy. Hello, everyone. So I just want to say thank you so much for hanging in there with me on the last episode, which was very difficult for me to record. To be brutally honest and transparent with y'all, I have yet to edit that episode. I've been procrastinating quite a lot on editing that episode because it's tough to hear, because it's tough to be reminded of that loss that occurred in my life. Still, here I am. I'm choosing to be grateful. My therapist told me to focus on that, on being grateful of everything that John gave me, as opposed to focusing on the loss. So I'm choosing to be grateful, and making that choice every day, while hard, is helping me to continue on with the habits that I have built already. And if you don't know, check out the episode of those habits that I built, so that way they can enable me to continue to move forward, right? And live my life, which is, as cheesy as it sounds, I'm pretty sure John would have want me to continue on being the same fur parent that he had while he was still here on this earth. So thank you. And here we are on another episode. So when you get this episode, it would still be Latine Heritage Month. So I'm being very conscious of using the word Latine, Latine, because I'm choosing to use words that are more gender neutral, taking into consideration that the Spanish language is very much gendered, but I am trying to use gender neutral. So that way I am more inclusive with my language. So when you listen to this, it should still be Latine Heritage Month. And this is something that I had a hard time celebrating last year, and I'm trying to change that for this year. So before I give you that explanation, that is what we're talking on today's episode. It's just that hesitancy that I had of feeling that pride of being part of this community, and why I felt that, and what I'm trying to do to change that. So are you all ready to listen to this episode? We will be talking about race and culture in here, by the way. All right, well, let's get it. So last year, I had a hard time really putting effort into it in social media when it comes to Latine Heritage Month, but not just in social media, also in my life as well. This year, things have changed. I am being more conscious of choosing to read Latine authors and their stories, and choosing to talk about them publicly. What was so different last year was that I was and had been very aware of the anti-Black sentiment that is part of the Latine culture. But for this one, I'm going to specifically talk about my country and the island that I come from, La Española, because I really don't want to bulk up the whole Latine culture, all the countries that make up Latine, because I don't know them like that to be able to talk in a intelligent manner with nuance. So I'm going to leave that out and then just focus on what I know. And it's complex, right? So we have the complexities of heritage, identity, and the struggle to find pride in the face of systemic racism. In La Española, which is the island that is Dominican Republic and Haiti, two countries in the same island. Most of the island, by US standards, will be considered Black. However, the anti-Black sentiment in the Dominican Republic, it's outrageous, completely outrageous. And I may even get some hate mail like I did when I made a comment about the lack of education in the Dominican Republic to give nuance to the African heritage that we have. I think I said it on this podcast. I made a comment on a Haitian historical human being that was making a post about the history of Haiti and the richness that is there and how far they go. And I did it. A lot of the things that she was discussing, I did not know. However, I went to school in the Dominican Republic. That's where I was born and raised. And I went to school there. And I did not get any of these lessons. And when I made that known in a comment, a lot of, I would assume, Dominican people started like getting in there and attacking me and doing these personal attacks. When people hear something that they don't like to hear, they automatically go for the personal, calling me dumb and calling me bruta, somebody that doesn't know how to read or chooses not to read, and all of that. And I chose not to engage in an antagonistic manner, but to kind of like put my 2 cents in a very sarcastic way that could make me laugh, and it actually made the creator laugh as well. So that's what I did. But this is why this happened last year. And this is one of the reasons why I found it so hard to show that pride outwardly in public. I will not deny where I come from. I would not deny my heritage and my lineage and all of that. I will not do that. But sometimes the Dominican Republic makes it very hard for me to feel that pride of coming from there. And it's because of things like this. It's almost like in there, it's a bubble that keeps those people that have either no melanin or very little melanin from understanding how intertwined we are to Blackness, to Africa, and to that culture. And if you look at our culture and you, like I've done once I've gotten to the US, I've researched a lot of our culture. It is so much. I want to say most of it really comes from Africa, from the foods to the music to the instruments to the colors of our clothing and our tapestry. Almost all of it really comes from there. And I find it so, like frustrating that it's like we just continuously deny that and try so hard to erase it. And some of the things that really is done over there in the island, and that sometimes Dominicans we carry over when we immigrated to the United States, is that whole no, we're not Black, we're Dominican, or there's no such thing, I'm just Dominican. And when we do that, and I think this is part of lack of a nuanced education, right? And part of it is stemming from colonialism and the dictatorship that occurred in the island, where Trujillo just really tried to erase Blackness from the island by killing people with melanin, killing Black folks in the Dominican Republic. It was atrocious, and it is one of the worst atrocities to humanity that happened in the Americas happened there. So So you see, all these things have led to Dominicans really being brainwashed to buy into this "we are just Dominican" kind of myth. And what does that do is that erases the indigenousness, and that erases the blackness that is part of our culture. I mean, if you look at the ancestry of Dominicans, you're gonna see Spanish, you're gonna see West African, and you're gonna see Taino. In my case, I also have Portuguese in there. So so you see, all of that is woven into all of us. Granted, different percentages, right, based on the people. Various people have different percentages, but we all have that very similar mixture. So when we say things like this, it's almost like a snowball effect, right, in the island, because then we start believing it, and thus we start teaching it, and thus we start passing it down to our children, and thus now we are starting to do legislations based off of all of that, which we hold as truth, but it really is not. So you see, so it's like this domino effect that occurred when someone decided to brainwash the people there, because it is just they felt threatened by the Africans that they brought to the island. Essentially, that's what happened. So the Spanish brought the Africans to the island. The Africans became their own people, revolted, and now there was like, what do we need to do? Oh shit, we need to really put them down, make them feel less than, and let's rewrite the history to ensure that they're not part of it, so that way they feel even shittier. And let's go on with that, for years and years, and build generations based off of this. And that is in essence what has happened. So it really is a hot mess, for lack of better words. The the island, and how we treat our rich history and our rich culture, and the Dominicans that have melanin, and we all do various mixtures, right? But it goes with those that are darker are treated worse, while those that are on the other end of the spectrum that are lighter and are white, they're the ones that don't feel it the most. But the thing is that most people don't say anything about it. Why? Because we are living under that myth of we are all Dominicans. Are you ready to embark on a captivating journey of resilience and revelation? Get ready to immerse yourself in the extraordinary world of Isla Delgado, a 9-year-old girl who has experienced more than her fair share of trauma. Isla's life takes a dramatic turn when she's forced to live with her dad and his new wife for 6 months. Her anxiety intensifies as she becomes convinced that her stepmom is an evil witch. But Isla is determined to protect herself and expose her stepmom's true nature. As the gripping story unfolds, Isla discovers that things aren't always as they seem. People are saying, while the alarming trend of attempting to ban books continues in the United States, this book is a fantastic reminder of the power that books have. A child will read this story and feel seen, heard, and hopefully feel some peace. For children of the appropriate age, this book provides the opportunity for a wonderful exercise in empathy. The message of this story is truly something a lot of children out there, and even some adults, might need to hear. Join Isla on a transformative journey of self-discovery, where she learns that even the most traumatic experiences can be triumphantly overcome with the power of love and understanding. Mrs. Frenchie's Evil Ring is available everywhere books are sold. So then when you're living under that myth that we're just all Dominicans, then it's hard for people to identify the inequalities there. The racism is there, right? But if we have a blindfold on, we're not able to see it. So it's only those that have actually taken the blindfold off that are able to see what really is there. And usually those people are the ones, the darker Dominicans, because they're the ones feeling the brunt of those laws, of those inequities, of those legislations that keep being passed over there because the white elite, the white minority is really just trying to hold on and cling to that power through racism and colonialism. So you see, and that is just a very simplistic way of explaining that. Okay. I hope I didn't confuse anyone. Uh, but that is in essence the sentiment in the island. And that's why I had a very hard time really being outward with the pride, right, that I wanted to feel for being Latina, for being Dominican. This year I chose to focus on the books, on the Latine books written by Latine authors, because I'm all about representation. Now that doesn't mean that I don't see the inequities, that I don't see the anti-blackness and racism happening in the island. I I have taken the blindfold off. I see it, but I'm choosing to still feel pride about the small progression that we're doing here in the United States by Latine authors when it comes to representing the Latine culture in general. Because two things can happen at once, right? We can be doing something awful here, but some people within our community are still striving to do something good. So I'm choosing to focus more on those that are doing something good while still emphasizing the voices of those that are hurting. And let's go deeper into that, right? So I went into a Dominican abroad, and I follow her on Instagram and TikTok, and she also has a website, dominicanabroad.com. And she has this great article that she explains it way better than what I'm doing here. So I will link it in the comments so y'all can read it at leisure if you so wish. But the way that she explained it is that the anti-blackness and that the systemic racism that occurs in La Española, it's a mixture of, like I said, right, lack of education. So because we have gone so far from the truth, we are unable to educate our children in La Española with the actual facts, the things that happen, but not just the things that happen, also the repercussions of those things from all angles. Because something that I talked about when I made that comment in the historian's TikTok page was that our history is told from the Spaniard side, right? It is not told from the African side of it. And that is what is lacking, because all we are reading is the Spaniards' version of things. And then we know now that that view is very biased, very racist, and is degrading, because it categorizes the African enslaved people as not people, and thus that is what is carried on in the teachings and the education and so forth. So if we don't get to study, to read from the other side, then we're missing out, right, on the repercussions and how that felt. but we also missing out not just on the pain and the degradation that happened uh, to the other side of the enslaved folk, but we're also missing out on the joy and the resilience and the power and empowerment that came from them trying to beat a system that was against them. We are missing all of that. And you might say, so what, right? So what that we're missing it? Well, that is a big deal because Dominicans are mixed, not just with Spaniard, but with African blood as well. So if we don't understand all sides, as well as the Tainos, right? And we don't understand that joy, that resilience that is there, that richness, that culture that is there, and we don't see it, then we will continue to dismiss it and not identify with it. And that is part of the problem here. Because when you cannot identify it, when you cannot see it, then you cannot look up to it. You cannot cherish it. You cannot love on it because you simply don't see it as being there. And that is what is missing there. A few people are getting it, right? We're seeing these changes. And I want to say we're seeing these changes in La Española because of immigrants that have come to the US and then have been around activists that are constantly fighting for equitable rights. And I think it's because of that. And also the internet and being able to see what activists all around the world are doing, that now people in La Española are opening their eyes a little bit more and are understanding that, oh wow, these things are racist as fuck. Right? And they're able to see and grasp. And also because of the internet, now we're able to tap into the history that was missing. And we're able to do home studies if we want to. We're able to pass down what we learn to our kids and possibly change the dynamic of the generations now coming forward now with that new knowledge. But it's slow. It's slow progress. I'm still seeing news that come from the Dominican Republic of like closing the borders with Haiti and all this other stuff. And it is this fear, this complete and illogical fear that the minority white elite in the Dominican Republic have of the majority. Essentially, that's what it is. They have this fear because they don't want to let go of power. And they're afraid that when they do, and then the majority gets the power, that there may be repercussions for everything that they did. And I say without any political education or anything. I'm really just going off of what I see and the small deductive reasoning that I have, that is why they this small minority just gripping, having a death grip on power as if they're gonna die if they don't have it. And it really is sad. And it really does hamper the beauty that is La Española. It really does. And I will forever be sad about that when it comes to my home country, the island that I was born in. I will forever be sad for that. But I'll continue to as well seek out those good moments and project those while still not losing sight of the things that need to get fixed. Folks, I didn't know that this was gonna go in this route. I always write like a little script very vague scripts so that way I know what I'm going to talk about. But for whatever reason, I just, I go out on left field when I start getting into the swing of things. But nevertheless, please support support Latine authors and their books and their stories, not just during Latine Heritage Month, but all year round. Because as you can see, right, let's learn from what we're trying to recuperate in the Dominican Republic in Española, right? And that is that representation, right? That comes from understanding our history. So we need that. We need that representation in literature. And the best way that we can get that is by going out to buying these books and going out to the library and requesting these books and reading them and reviewing them. It is very important because we want generations after generations to understand that lineage, that culture, and to be able to see themselves represented in fiction, in nonfiction, to be able to see their faces in literature so that way they can feel seen. Because when you feel seen, you feel loved. So support Latine authors all year round. I'll see you next Wednesday. Bye.
Oh, we could fly.
Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to follow and subscribe to the show. See you on the next episode. Bye.
Oh, we could fly.